Lieutenant William Carter yawned as he guided his scout ship, the U.S. Horizon, through the dark void near Neptune's orbit. 8 hours into his patrol, and nothing but rocks and ice to keep him company. The ship's systems hummed quietly around him, monitoring the vast emptiness of space. "Just another boring day protecting Earth from nothing," he muttered, taking a sip of his lukewarm coffee. The alert chime made him jump, spilling coffee onto his uniform. "Warning. Unknown energy signatures detected," announced the ship's computer in its flat voice. Carter sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. He tapped the screen, bringing up the sensor readings. "Computer, analyze energy pattern. Analysis complete. Energy signature does not match any known pattern in database." Carter's heart beat faster. After 5 years of routine patrols, he might have found something important. "Show location and magnify." The view screen zoomed in on a distant section of space. At first, Carter saw nothing but blackness. Then his eyes widened. There, against the backdrop of stars, floated what looked like ships, dozens of them. Massive structures of gleaming metal caught the distant sunlight. "Computer, are those ships?" "Affirmative. 53 vessel structures detected. Designs unknown." Carter's training kicked in. He quickly sent an encrypted message to Earth Command, then positioned his ship behind a small moon to observe. The alien fleet wasn't moving. In fact, they seemed completely still. As if they're adrift, he whispered to himself, studying the readings. No engine output, minimal power signatures. Whatever these ships were, they weren't in attack formation. They were just floating. After 20 minutes with no response from command, Carter made a decision that would change human history. "Computer, establish communication. All frequencies. Warning. Contact with unknown vessels violates Protocol 15B." Carter took a deep breath. "Override protocol. Authorization Carter 9 to 7 Delta." For several minutes, nothing happened. Then his screen flickered, and a face appeared. Carter nearly fell out of his chair. The being had smooth blue-gray skin, large almond-shaped eyes, and no visible nose. Its mouth was small and lipless, and instead of hair, it had what looked like small tentacles that moved gently around its head. "This is High Commander Zeth Nar of the Caldari Exploration Fleet," the alien said in perfect English, its voice deep and musical. "Identify yourself, human vessel." Carter swallowed hard. "Lieutenant William Carter of the United Earth Defense Fleet. How are you speaking our language?" "Universal translators," the alien replied dismissively. "Your broadcasts have filled this sector for centuries. Understanding your primitive language was simple." Carter noticed the strain in the alien's posture and the dim lights behind him. "Your fleet appears to be in distress. You require assistance." A look of what might have been shame crossed the alien's face. "Our interstellar drive systems failed after we passed through an unknown spatial anomaly. We have been stranded for 26 days. Life support systems are failing on our larger vessels." Carter nodded slowly. "I can request a rescue mission from Earth." "Humans." The alien made a sound like bitter laughter. "How could your species possibly help us? Your technology is centuries behind ours." Carter felt a flash of anger, but kept his voice level. "With respect, Commander, it seems your advanced technology isn't helping much right now, and we're the only help in this part of the galaxy." The alien was silent for a long moment, its large eyes studying Carter carefully. "The Galactic Confederation has monitored your world for centuries, human. Your kind was deemed too primitive and volatile for contact." Zeth Nar paused, and Carter saw the conflict in those alien eyes. "But we have little choice. We have over 20,000 lives aboard this fleet." Carter straightened in his chair. "I'll contact Earth immediately. We'll help however we can." As he sent the emergency message to Earth Command, Carter knew the world would never be the same. Humans were about to rescue an alien armada, and in doing so, show the galaxy that primitive didn't mean helpless. 3 hours later, When Admiral Susan Grant's voice crackled through his comm system, ordering him to maintain position until the rescue fleet arrived, Carter smiled. The aliens were about to learn something important about humans. We help first and ask questions later. Admiral Susan Grant stood before the hastily assembled team in the main conference room of Earth Defense Headquarters. Her gray eyes scanned each face, measuring their reactions to the images on the giant screen behind her. 53 alien ships floating helplessly in space. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to make history," she said, her voice firm and clear. 20,000 alien lives depend on us. The Caldari need our help, even if they don't want to admit it. Captain John Simmons raised an eyebrow. At 42, he was known throughout the fleet as a problem solver who ignored rulebooks when necessary. They really think we're too primitive to help them. Their exact words were like asking cavemen to repair quantum computers. Admiral Grant replied with a small smile. "I think we should prove them wrong." Dr. Olivia Martinez, the team's xenobiologist, studied the alien biological data on her tablet. "Their life support systems will fail completely in 2 weeks. We need to move fast." "Then let's get to work," said Commander Peter Wu, already pulling up technical schematics. "What exactly happened to their drive systems?" Admiral Grant tapped the screen, showing a strange energy pattern. "They passed through what they call a spatial anomaly. It burned out their interstellar drives and damaged their power cores." Chief Engineer Kate Miller leaned forward, her eyes lighting up as she studied the alien technology. "Their systems are incredibly advanced, but also interconnected in ways ours aren't. When one critical system failed, it took everything else down with it. Like having too many Christmas lights on one circuit," Simmons said, nodding. "So what's our approach?" For the next 3 days, the human team worked around the clock. While Earth governments argued about the political implications of helping the aliens, Captain Simmons and his team focused on practical solutions. On the 4th day, they boarded the U.S. Challenger, Earth's newest rescue vessel, packed with equipment and spare parts. As they approached the alien fleet, even the most seasoned crew members fell silent at the sight of the massive ships. The Caldari flagship alone was bigger than Earth's largest city. "Look at the size of that thing," whispered Kate as their small ship docked with the alien vessel. The first meeting did not go well. High Commander Zethnar and his officers stared at the human tools and equipment with obvious disdain. "These are mechanical devices," one alien officer said, his tentacle-like hair moving with agitation. "No quantum interfaces, no neural links." "Sometimes the old ways work best," Simmons replied calmly, unpacking the simple welding torch. The Caldari engineer named Vrek made a dismissive gesture. "Our systems operate on principles your science doesn't even understand." "Then explain them to us," Kate challenged. "We're quick learners." For the next week, humans and aliens worked side by side. The Caldari were shocked to discover that Earth's outdated fusion technology, when modified with elements of their own tech, offered a solution their AI systems had overlooked. While their advanced computers searched for perfect answers, the humans were happy with good enough. The breakthrough came when Kate noticed something strange about the alien power cores. "You've designed everything to be too perfect," she told the surprised Vrek. "Sometimes you need redundancy, even if it seems inefficient." By combining Caldari theoretical knowledge with human practical engineering, they developed a bypass system that could restore power to the fleet. It wasn't elegant, but it would work. On the 10th day, they tested the system on the smallest ship. When its lights came on and its engines hummed to life, Captain Simmons saw something he never expected: an alien wiping away tears of relief. "Impossible," Zethnar whispered, watching his people cheer alongside the humans. "You achieved in days what our best minds said couldn't be done." Simmons shrugged. "That's the thing about us humans. Tell us something's impossible, and we take it as a challenge." As word spread through the fleet that the primitive humans were actually saving them, attitudes began to change. The rescue that nobody believed could happen was becoming reality, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. Dr. Olivia Martinez had never imagined she would be the first human to study 12 different alien species at once. As she walked through the massive central corridor of the Caldari flagship, she couldn't help but stare at the variety of beings around her. Some were tall and thin with 4 arms, others short and stocky with scales instead of skin. One species seemed to float slightly above the ground, while another moved on 6 legs like insects. All of them stared back at her with equal curiosity. "Amazing," she whispered, making notes on her tablet. Each one evolved on a different world. Richard Bell, the team's linguist, nodded beside her. "And they all speak at least 3 languages each. The Confederation has been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. A young Caldari scientist approached them hesitantly. Unlike the older officers, his head tentacles were shorter and lighter in color. "I am Tellus," he said with a small bow. "Junior science officer. May I ask you questions about Earth?" Richard smiled warmly. "Only if we can ask you questions too." Soon, a small group formed around them. Aliens from different ships had come aboard the flagship for repairs, and many were curious about the humans. Tellus seemed especially fascinated. "Is it true that humans create art with no practical purpose?" he asked, his large eyes wide with wonder. "Of course," Richard replied. "Music, painting, dance, poetry. We create for the joy of creating." The aliens exchanged glances. Tellus explained, "In Confederation culture, everything must have purpose and function. Your creativity is considered excessive." Dr. Martinez laughed. "That creativity is why we're helping you now. Humans think outside the box." In another section of the ship, the atmosphere was less friendly. Chief Engineer Kate Miller knelt beside an open panel, trying to rewire a power coupling, while Sub-Commander Vrek watched with obvious disapproval. "Your methods are crude," he said coldly. "Your species only achieved spaceflight 300 years ago. The Caldari were exploring the stars when your ancestors were still hunting with spears." Kate wiped sweat from her forehead and continued working. "Yet here we are, fixing your ships." Vrek's tentacles stiffened in anger. "A temporary situation. Once we return to Confederation space, we will replace these improvisations with proper technology." "These improvisations are saving your lives," Kate replied, connecting 2 wires that made the panel light up. "Sometimes simpler is better." The tension grew as more ships were repaired. Some aliens, like Tellus, eagerly learned from the humans. Others, like Vrek, became more resentful each day. The breaking point came during a shared meal in what the humans called the cafeteria of the flagship. Captain Simmons and his team sat with Tellus and several friendly aliens, sharing stories about Earth. Vrek entered with 4 other officers, their posture rigid with anger. "Look at them," he said loudly. "Primitive beings behaving like children, speaking of emotions and art, while important work remains." Commander Wu stood up slowly. "We've repaired 16 of your ships already. Perhaps a little gratitude would be appropriate." "Gratitude?" Vrek laughed harshly. "For doing what any civilized species should. The Confederation was right to avoid contact with your kind." The room fell silent. Then Kate Miller stepped forward, holding up a small device she had been working on. "This is what I built today," she said calmly. "It's a modified power converter that increases efficiency by 30%, something your engineers said was impossible." She set it on the table. One of Vrek's officers picked it up, examined it, and looked up in shock. "She's right," he said. "This design, it shouldn't work, but it does." High Commander Zeth Nar, who had been watching silently from the doorway, finally spoke. "Perhaps we have much to learn from each other. The Confederation has been wrong before." As the tension slowly eased, Tellus leaned toward Richard. "Now I understand why the Council classified humans as unpredictable. You challenge everything we believe." Richard smiled. "That's what humans do best. and we're just getting started. Commander Peter Wu stared at his screen in disbelief. The data couldn't be right. He ran the analysis again, but the results were the same. "Captain Simmons," he called out, his voice tight with concern. "We have a problem." 3 weeks had passed since the humans began helping the alien fleet. 28 ships were now operational, but the largest vessels, including the flagship, were still undergoing repairs. Simmons hurried over, followed by Tellus and 2 other Caldari scientists. "What's wrong?" Wu pointed to the energy readings. "The spatial anomaly that damaged their fleet. It's growing. Fast." "That's impossible," said one of the Caldari scientists. "Quantum fractures are stable phenomena." "Not this one," Wu replied, showing them the data. "It's expanding toward both the fleet and Earth. At the current rate, it will reach us in 5 days." The news spread quickly through the fleet. High Commander Zeth Nar called an emergency meeting with the human team and his senior officers. "Our scientists confirm your findings," Zeth Nar said gravely. "This type of quantum fracture occurs only once every million years. We had no warning." Vrek stepped forward, his posture stiff. "The solution is clear. We must evacuate to the repaired ships and leave immediately." "And go where?" asked Kate Miller. "Your long-range drives are still offline. You'd only make it to the edge of our solar system. Better than staying here to be destroyed." Vrek replied coldly. "The smaller ships can carry our essential personnel." Dr. Martinez looked horrified. "What about the thousands still on the damaged ships? You'd just leave them behind." Vrek didn't flinch. Difficult decisions must be made for survival. The room erupted in angry voices, both human and alien. Captain Simmons slammed his hand on the table for silence. "No one gets left behind," he said firmly. "Not on my watch." High Commander Zeth Nar studied him curiously. "What do you propose, Captain?" For the next 2 hours, they debated options. The Caldari suggested complex solutions involving quantum fields and dimensional shifts, all requiring technology they didn't currently have working. Finally, Simmons stood up. "We collapse it." "Collapse a quantum fracture?" Vrek laughed. "Impossible. Even the Confederation has never achieved such a thing." "Has anyone ever tried using nuclear devices modified with your shield technology?" Simmons asked. "The explosion, contained and directed by the shields, could create enough force to destabilize the fracture at its weakest point." The room fell silent as the aliens considered his words. "Theoretically possible," admitted one of the Caldari scientists, "but extremely dangerous. The timing would need to be perfect." While the debate continued, Vrek secretly gathered supporters. 8 hours later, alarms blared throughout the fleet. Captain Simmons and Wu rushed to the command center. "5 ships have broken away from the fleet," reported a Caldari officer. "They're positioning for emergency departure." On the main screen, they watched as Vrek appeared, his face cold with determination. "I have taken command of the functional vessels. We leave in 1 hour. Any essential personnel who wish to survive should join us now." High Commander Zeth Nar's tentacles darkened with anger. "This is treason, Subcommander." "This is survival," Vrek replied. "The humans' plan is suicidal. I will not die because of primitive thinking." The fleet was thrown into chaos. Families were separated as some rushed to join Vrek's ships. Others refused to abandon their people. In the midst of the crisis, Admiral Grant's voice came through on Earth's secure channel. "Captain Simmons, I've reviewed your plan. The President has authorized use of our nuclear arsenal. The U.S. Dauntless is on its way with the devices." Simmons looked at Zeth Nar, who stood staring at the screen where Vrek's ships were preparing to depart. "This is the moment that defines us," Simmons said quietly. "Do we save everyone, or only ourselves?" Zeth Nar turned to face him, his alien features set with new resolve. "We stay. We fight. Together." As the quantum fracture grew larger in the distance, casting strange lights across the ships, humans, and aliens prepared for their most dangerous mission yet. The U.S. Dauntless appeared against the blackness of space, its engines glowing blue as it approached the alien fleet. Captain Alice Howard guided her ship smoothly alongside the massive Caldari vessels, her expression serious as she looked at the growing spatial anomaly in the distance. "Looks worse than the pictures," she said, turning to her crew. "Let's get those nukes ready." Within hours, the Dauntless had docked with the Caldari flagship. Captain Howard met with Simmons, Zethnar, and the joint human-alien team, her crew unloading specially modified nuclear devices behind her. "We have 12 warheads," she explained, "Earth's most powerful. Admiral Grant sends her regards and says not to miss." Simmons nodded. No pressure. The plan was complex but clear. They would position the nuclear devices at specific points around the anomaly, synchronized to detonate in a precise sequence. The Caldari shield technology, modified by Kate Miller and the alien engineers, would contain and direct the explosions inward, creating enough force to collapse the fracture. "We have 48 hours before the anomaly reaches critical expansion," Commander Wu said, pointing to a holographic display. "After that, nothing will stop it." In the distance, Vrek's 5 ships still hovered, unwilling to leave but refusing to help. High Commander Zethnar had tried reasoning with his former officer, but Vrek remained convinced the plan would fail. As the teams prepared for the mission, Engineer Frank Lopes checked each nuclear device, carefully installing the Caldari shield generators Kate had modified. "These need to be perfect," he told his assistant. "No room for error." Across the fleet, humans and aliens worked side by side, setting aside their differences in the face of common danger. Even those who had been skeptical of humans now watched in amazement as the Earth ships moved with precision and purpose. 18 hours later, everything was ready. 3 small ships, 2 human and 1 Caldari, would deliver the devices to their positions. Frank Lopes volunteered to lead the deployment on the most dangerous vector, closest to the anomaly center. "Be careful out there," Kate told him as he prepared to board his ship. "The radiation levels are off the charts." Frank smiled. "I'll try not to get a sunburn." The 3 ships launched simultaneously, moving carefully toward the swirling energy of the quantum fracture. Everyone on the flagship watched the screens tensely as the vessels neared their target positions. That's when things went wrong. "We've got a problem." Frank's voice crackled over the comm. "The timing mechanism on Warhead 6 is malfunctioning. The shield won't synchronize properly." Captain Simmons leaned forward. "Can you fix it?" "Yes, but I'll need to do it manually." "That means staying with it until the last moment." The control room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. High Commander Zethnar stepped closer to the communication panel. "Return to the fleet, human. We will find another solution." "There is no other solution," Frank replied calmly. "And we're out of time." Before anyone could argue further, Frank's ship moved closer to the anomaly. They watched as he exited his vessel in a spacesuit, tethered himself to the nuclear device, and began working on its circuits. "If I adjust the shield frequency directly, I can get all 12 warheads to synchronize." His voice came through, occasionally breaking up with static. "Just need a few more minutes." The anomaly's energy flared around him, the radiation levels climbing dangerously. On the flagship, Dr. Martinez watched the medical readouts from Frank's suit with growing horror. "He needs to get out of there now," she said. "Those radiation levels are lethal." Frank's voice came through one last time. "Ready for detonation. Starting countdown. Tell my sister I won't make her wedding. But I have a good excuse." The screens flashed as all 12 nuclear devices detonated in perfect sequence. The shields contained the explosions, directing the force inward toward the anomaly center. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the quantum fracture began to collapse, folding in on itself like a dying star. When the light faded, the anomaly was gone. And so was Frank's ship. "Get a rescue team out there now," Captain Simmons ordered, his voice breaking. Against all odds, They found Frank's badly damaged suit floating in space, the engineer inside barely alive, but still holding the manual override device. As the medical teams rushed him to the flagship's infirmary, the aliens watched in stunned silence. He knew it might kill him, Tellus whispered, yet he stayed. Zethnar nodded slowly. Today, we have learned what humans truly are. News of the successful rescue spread through the galaxy faster than light. The Galactic Confederation's Central Council convened an emergency session on Adar Prime, their capital world. The vast circular chamber buzzed with voices as representatives from over 200 species debated what many called the Earth Incident. Elder Tholak, a tall being with silver skin who had served on the council for 3 centuries, tapped his staff on the floor for silence. "We face an unprecedented situation," he announced, his deep voice echoing in the chamber. "For the first time in Confederation history, a pre-integration species has made direct contact with multiple Confederation members. Not only that, but this species, these humans, have saved one of our most important fleets." A murmur ran through the chamber. On a raised platform, in the center stood High Commander Zethnar, still wearing his formal uniform despite the exhaustion clear in his posture. "The reports from your fleet are disturbing, Commander," continued Elder Tholak. "You claim these humans solved problems our best engineers could not." Zethnar stood straighter. "I do not merely claim this, Elder. I witnessed it. The humans used methods we had abandoned centuries ago, combined with our technology in ways we never considered. They showed courage and creativity that saved 20,000 lives." From across the chamber, Representative Kira, a member of the Progressive faction, stepped forward. Unlike most council members, she was young, her blue scales still bright with youth. "For too long, the Confederation has grown comfortable in our advancement," she said. "Perhaps we need the fresh perspective these humans offer." Their approach to problem-solving combines technical skill with intuition and creativity. Elder Tholak's silver face showed no emotion. "You forget why we classified Earth as a pre-integration species. Their history is marked by violence and unpredictability. Their emotions cloud their judgment. Their emotions also drive them to sacrifice themselves for others," Zethnar countered. "One human nearly died to save beings he had never met before. Can we claim such nobility?" The debate raged for days. Meanwhile, on Earth, human governments struggled with their own crisis. The sudden confirmation of intelligent alien life had thrown society into confusion. Religious leaders, scientists, military officials, and politicians all demanded answers about these new visitors. President Laura Chen addressed the world from the White House, her calm voice a beacon in the storm of uncertainty. "We face not a crisis, but an opportunity," she said. "Humanity has proven itself on the galactic stage. We have shown that what others might consider our weaknesses, our emotions, our creativity, our willingness to take risks, are actually our greatest strengths." Back on the Caldari flagship, now fully repaired and orbiting Earth, Captain Simmons and Admiral Grant received an unexpected message. "The Confederation Council requests your presence on Adar Prime," High Commander Zethnar informed them. "You will be the first humans to set foot on the Confederation capital." Admiral Grant raised an eyebrow. "Are we on trial, Commander?" Zethnar's head tentacles rippled with what they now recognized as amusement. "In a way, yes, but also as witnesses. My testimony alone was not enough. They wished to see these remarkable humans for themselves." 3 days later, Captain Simmons and Admiral Grant stood before the Confederation Council, the first humans to address the gathered representatives of 200 alien civilizations. The silence in the chamber was absolute as they approached the speaking platform. Simmons looked out at the sea of alien faces, some humanoid, others completely foreign to human experience. Yet in that moment, he understood that beneath their different appearances, they shared fundamental similarities: curiosity, fear of the unknown, and hope for the future. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," he began simply, "we come in peace, as friends and neighbors in this vast galaxy we all call home. His words, translated into hundreds of alien languages, mark the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, one that no one, human or alien, could have predicted. 6 months after the rescue of the Caldari fleet, Earth received an invitation that no one thought possible. The Galactic Confederation, after heated debates and close votes, offered humanity probationary membership, the first such invitation extended to any species in over 300 years. Space Station Unity hung in orbit above Earth, its gleaming hull reflecting sunlight as ships from 12 different Confederation species approached. Built in record time using both human and alien technology, the station symbolized the new partnership between Earth and the stars. Inside the station's grand central chamber, representatives from Earth and the Confederation gathered for the historic ceremony. Admiral John Simmons, recently promoted, led the human delegation. His new uniform still felt stiff, but his posture was relaxed as he greeted alien dignitaries he now called friends. Admiral Simmons called a familiar voice. Simmons turned to see High Commander Zethnar approaching, his head tentacles now adorned with ceremonial silver rings. "It seems you have been promoted as well." Simmons smiled. Apparently saving an alien Armada is good for one's career. Nearby, Frank Lopes entered the chamber, walking slowly with a cane. His body still showed the effects of the extreme radiation exposure, but Caldari medical technology combined with Earth medicine had saved his life. A group of Caldari engineers immediately surrounded him, treating him with a respect that bordered on reverence. "The hero returns," Zethnar said, nodding toward Frank. His actions changed many minds in the Confederation Council. "He just did what any of us would have done," Simmons replied. "That is precisely what changed their minds," said Zethnar. "You humans consistently put yourselves at risk for others. It is both your greatest weakness and your greatest strength." The ceremony began with speeches from both human and alien leaders. President Chen spoke of new beginnings, while Elder Tholak, who had finally voted in favor of Earth's membership, spoke of cautious optimism. The most meaningful moment came when the Caldari presented Earth with access to medical technology that would eliminate several major human diseases. In return, humans offered innovative engineering approaches that were already being implemented throughout the Confederation's fleets. "You found solutions where our advanced AI saw none," admitted a Caldari scientist. "Your primitive approaches reminded us of foundations we have forgotten." Even Sub-Commander Vrek made an appearance, formally apologizing for his actions during the crisis. Though still stiff and formal, he presented Frank Lopes with a Caldari Medal of Valor, the first ever given to a non-Confederation species. As the formal ceremony ended, Admiral Simmons found himself standing with High Commander Zethnar at the observation deck, looking down at the blue-green planet below. "It's beautiful," Zethnar said quietly. "We monitored your world for centuries, but seeing it like this, I understand why you fought so hard to protect it." Simmons nodded. "What happens now?" "Now, your species begins its journey among the stars. Not as juniors or servants, but as equals. Many in the Confederation are still uncomfortable with this idea. And you." Zethanar's head tentacles rippled in what Simmons now recognized as thoughtful amusement. "I have learned that discomfort often precedes growth. My people had become so dependent on advanced technology that we lost the foundational skills and mindset that built our civilization. You reminded us of what we once were. Below them, the first generation of new ships prepared for departure. Human vessels built with Confederation technology, but distinctly human in design and operation. Their crews included both humans and aliens, working together to explore the unknown reaches of the galaxy. The Confederation has existed for 12,000 years, Zethnar continued. In all that time, we have never encountered a species quite like yours. You are emotional, unpredictable, sometimes irrational. And yet, in our moment of greatest need, these very qualities saved us. As Earth turned slowly beneath them, its oceans and continents bathed in sunlight, Simmons thought about the long journey ahead. Humanity was taking its first real steps into the galactic community, carrying a new reputation that no one could have predicted. They were the species who rescued an alien armada, and in doing so, began to change the galaxy itself.